up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Jada here, back with another video. So as you can see, my background is looking quite different. I am now on vacation, and I know the lighting is probably going to be trash because I did not feel like bringing around that ring light of mine because I knew that was going to weigh me down. So I'm just going to do my best with this natural light that's coming through my window right now, okay? But regardless, we're going to be diving back into 90 Day Fiancé UK. This is season 3, their most recent season, and this is going to be the last maybe 2 or 3 episodes leading up to their tell-all. Now, I've never watched a UK season before. This is my very first time. I even said that in my other video that I'll link in the corner here for you guys. I talked about the other set of episodes, and because of that, I don't necessarily know if their tell-alls are just as long as all the other shows where it's like 2 parts, 3 parts sometimes. But regardless, I think I'm just going to try my best to do one video for the UK tell-all because I don't think it's going to be that long. There wasn't that much drama going on, so I don't think we'll need that much time, you know what I mean? Let's get right into these episodes. So Tony and Nui. We left off with Tony and Nui meeting up with Tony's sister. Nui had offered to cook Thai food for her for dinner one day because I think it was the day before where she went to meet the sister. It just crashed and burned. It was just like the sister was just asking way too many evasive questions for the very first time she's meeting her. It was like, girl, calm down. Like, there is time. She's gonna be here for a little while. Like, you could get to know her, chill, you know what I'm saying? It's like the questions were insane. But after that, Tony takes Nui to meet his friends who kind of knew that she existed beforehand, unlike his sister. So the friends know a lot more about her than the sister did. They go out to this pub, but Tony starts drinking a little too much and he starts getting a little sloppy, and you kind of see that too. So Nui kind of wants to leave, but Tony of course doesn't because he is in his element. He loves to drink apparently. So a little spat ensues between him and Nui decides to go and stay at a hotel because she doesn't like when Tony is drunk. And that's honestly understandable. I don't really like hanging around people that are like super, like, I wouldn't say tipsy. Tipsy is okay, but when they're like sloppy drunk and, you know, doing a little too much, yeah, that's when I'm like, no thank you. The next day she goes to see him and talk to him after their little fight. And before she gets to really start the conversation, this man just is already offended because she didn't say like good morning or like greet him super nicely and warmly. And I'm just like, I mean, the night before y'all just had a fight. Like, clearly she's still upset with you. Like, anyways, but yeah, he basically kind of shoves her back outside the Airbnb. Well, not shoves. He didn't, like, you know, shove her actually, but he just kind of tells her to come out of the apartment or Airbnb, whatever, and, you know, let's just redo this because you're not gonna disrespect me, is what he says. You're not gonna disrespect me. I'm just like, Tony, okay, sir, okay. Now, I personally don't think it was that deep, okay? I think you guys could probably gather that from my attitude. I really don't think it was that deep. Like I said already, she clearly was still upset with him, so it was to be expected. But thankfully, after that, she's able to finally talk to him about the issues that she had with the night before, about him being sloppily drunk and all that stuff. They start to get on a better page afterwards, and he takes her for dinner and tells her that he'd be willing to move to Thailand for her since her family is back there. And then sometime later, I'm not sure how much time had passed in between this, but sometime after this dinner is when he takes her to the London Eye, and he then proposes to her. And she of course accepts. She's like all excited, yes, okay, amazing. But it's just like, I really think she should have thought this one through a little bit more, because I feel like Tony, he's not a terrible guy, but I get the vibe that he is very touchy, and just little things offend him and make him go off. Like, he just gets triggered pretty easily, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know if it's because of his like background, because I haven't heard much about his background besides him going to the military. It was just kind of like, I just get this vibe that Tony, I feel like he gets set off pretty easily. But anyways, so we're gonna move on to Ali and Sam. So there wasn't really too much in terms of an update after Sam decided to go back to the UK after visiting Ali over in Turkey. And as a part of his visa application, he needed to pass an English proficiency test, I believe. And at first he was playing around with her, saying that he didn't pass. And of course, the first thing she says is how much money she spent on the test. And if he had to retake it, it was gonna cost her even more money. And I'm like, geez, girl, like, all you talk about is money. We get it. you strap for cash. Okay, if it's that tight for you, I would probably consider finding another person, finding another man, someone that lives near where you are. So then you wouldn't have to do all this. You wouldn't have to file for a visa, pay all these thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? If you're gonna keep complaining, like that's just, you know, that's just how I'm thinking. After he plays around with her a little bit, kind of pulling her leg, he then tells her, you know, I'm just joking. I did actually pass the test with flying colors. We're good to go. So she's excited. But now the next thing is for them to get things finished in terms of an actual like visa appointment, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was like an actual appointment. That was pretty much it for them in terms of an update. But let's move on to Tahir and Nicole. So after their little weird argument about religious beliefs, Tahir and Nicole fly from Egypt over to the UK. He meets her dog, her little sausage dog. She's so cute. And they seem to be getting along, but I'm not entirely sure if Tahir is really adjusting to life too well over there just yet. I feel like it's really early to say, but I could tell he definitely doesn't like the pubs and how loud people are in them, because Nicole was saying when he first came over, she took him to a pub and she was saying to him, or at least to us in her individual interview, that in the UK pub culture is kind of a big thing, and he did not like that. He did not like that. That was not his scene, not his crowd, and to be honest, that wouldn't really be my crowd either. I don't really like bars like that, but yeah, so we're kind of on the same page here. We find out that he also has a problem with girls and boys going to the same school. I was like, okay, I'll try to, you know, give him a pass on that one, because I know he comes from a very, you know, like conservative background in Egypt. It's like, that's a pretty normal thing probably for a good bit of us in the world. So I'm not really sure how they would be able to, like, I guess, rectify that one. You could send your child to an all-girls school or all-boys school, but I mean, I don't really see the need to, but if that's what you choose to do, then, you know, if it makes you more comfortable, I guess, you know? We find out shortly after they get back to the UK that Nicole is expecting their first child. And I'm like, wow, y'all did not waste any time. I don't blame them. You know, I prefer to, after I get married, probably just one after the other. Just have all my kids back to back, to be honest. If I could, and my health is, you know, up to par and my body is willing and able to, I would much rather just, you know, back to back, get all the kids, get them out the way, get the birthing and all that stuff out the way, so that I can now enjoy my family life, you know, for the rest of my time here on this planet. But they are now expecting their first child together. I'm super excited for them. And they would actually end up having this little get together for Nicole's family to meet up with Tahir for the first time, meet him, have a good chat. And also they revealed that they're expecting their child, which was exciting news. Everyone seemed to be excited, but the ones that had kids, they were definitely like, oh, yeah, it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a challenge. So I think their episode just kind of ends off on a good note. It seems as though Tahir is getting to know Nicole's father. Nicole also said, you know, her father is really close to her. So I'm hoping that they do end up gelling really well for the sake of family dynamics. It seems as though they're, you know, in a good place right now. They're just kind of waiting on their child to be born. Let's move on to Jamie and Kathleen. So things are still not where they need to be with Jamie and Kathleen. And it gets even worse when Jamie's parents decide to have a party. I don't remember if it was like just a random party or like they were celebrating something specific. I can't remember, but either way, they had a party and they decided to invite, or at least Jamie's mom specifically decided to invite his ex, is what Jamie calls it, but Kathleen calls it the woman that he cheated on her with. So they have different, I guess, connotations connected to this woman, because Kathleen has a very different timeline of events compared to Jamie. But basically with Jamie, he doesn't think he cheated. He thought there was a break in his and Kathleen's relationship, but with Kathleen, she didn't think there was a break, so he cheated. So yeah, just thought I should bring that up again. This was kind of all his parents' doings, or all his mom's doings, according to Jamie. He said he didn't have any part in inviting this woman to the party. But yeah, it's just, it kind of is odd that the mom would keep this girl so close to her. It's like, I get it, you had a connection, but it was like, he is seeing another woman and that woman makes her uncomfortable. So why would you invite her? Anyways, so Kathleen ends up not wanting to go to the party at all because she would be uncomfortable, which is understandable. But when Jamie tries to keep her updated by sending photos and videos, she's still not happy with that, and she thinks that he's being sneaky and that his mom was trying to hurt her feelings. But even though his mom seemed apologetic about it, I wouldn't put it past her again that it was kind of purposefully done to invite his ex and keep her around to kind of break Jamie and Kathleen up. Like, I would not put it past her considering their relationship, like his and her relationship, Jamie and his mom. I wouldn't put it past the mom. I really wouldn't. Now, a little while later, Jamie could tell that Kathleen is still not in the best of moods, so he puts his mom on the phone to apologize for the whole party situation, and she pretends to take the apology, be happy, but of course, Jamie thinks that she's, you know, all good now because she faked being happy about this apology, but deep down, Kathleen was not feeling it. She was still giving him the most attitude, and yeah, he was just confused as to why. And I'm like, I'm not really all that confused. That was a sarcastic, happy smile, okay? She wasn't being serious. So now Jamie finds this engagement ring to propose to Kathleen as pretty much a last-ditch effort to make things right in their relationship, which I never think is a good idea to do. It's like, why should that even be a last resort? That should be you taking your relationship that's already in a healthy and good place to the next level. You should never use a proposal as a means to make somebody happy because you think you guys are in a bad place. So this is like your last offer of peace in your relationship. Like, it just should not be the case. Of course, you know, Kathleen accepts. She says yes, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, this is going to go downhill. If you're just proposing just because you think it's something that she'd like and it'll make her happy, and it's not something that you want as well, yeah, it's not going to end well. It's really not. Johan and Charlotte. So Charlotte proposed that they kind of move their wedding up and just go to the office in the Dominican Republic to get the paperwork and all that instead of having this big beach wedding that they were planning. So now she and her mother are going to be going to the DR for her and Johan to get married. And Charlotte gets ready, you know, she has her makeup, hair, all that done. She puts on her dress and everything. And she goes outside to wait for the ride that Johan supposedly had set or planned for her in advance to take her to this office. And there is, of course, nobody outside. She's sitting there waiting, and the plan changes from someone coming to get her to now his uncle coming to get her, and then the uncle ends up also running late, and she is just standing there freaking out. And the mom's already thinking, you know, she got stood up. He stood her up. And I'm just like, yeah, I would think the same thing. To be very, very honest with you, I would think the same thing. So shortly after her third or fourth call to Johan about this ride situation, he finally come and pick her up and take her to the office, and now she gets to the office and she still has to wait on Johan again. She has to wait on this man again. And she's just calling him again, like, where are you? We supposed to have an appointment time. They had an actual appointment that they needed to make. So he's running late. He finally gets to the office and he comes with his family, and it's so awkward because it's literally super late and they're trying to say hi, hello, how are you to Charlotte. But Charlotte is trying to be nice, but you could tell she's still pissed with Johan, and that's completely understandable yet again. It's like, I would be super upset. It's supposed to be your day, your special day, and this man is running late. Like, be for real. They were able to get into their appointment, thankfully, and they were still able to get married, and Charlotte forgave him, but her mom, on the other hand, was still super upset with him, and they ended up having to meet the next day for Johan to apologize to her about everything. But a few days later, or maybe even a few weeks later, again, not sure about the time period, the producers or people on the show tell her that Johan was actually cheating on her this entire time. They got some information from somebody that he had been basically seeing someone this entire time, or the entirety of their relationship, and even I think before this relationship. Yeah, so he's just been doing whatever he wants to do in the Dominican Republic. But I have to say, I'm kind of surprised but not surprised that they waited so long to even give her this information, because I'm sure they were sitting on it for a while. You can't convince me that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they had information. But regardless, you know, they were like, yeah, we have some information that Johan was cheating. And now, you know, out of nowhere, it's just like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? They probably just wanted a storyline. But of course, Charlotte is brokenhearted and she wants a divorce now. But the fact that this man was 21 years old, lived in a country thousands of miles away, and didn't have to do much outside of sleep with you whenever you came to the DR for you to pay all his bills and his family's bills. Like, I just don't understand how you didn't think that you were probably being used. Like, in my other video, I clearly said straight out, like, you are a sugar mama. Charlotte is a sugar mama. Most definitely. She fits every definition of the word. And the fact that she didn't see that, it just shows you how delusional she was going into that situation. Don't get me wrong, some age gap relationships work, but in that sense, like, there was just too many red flags. Too many. Let's move on to Jose and Luis. So Jose and Luis seem to just be pretty much enjoying their lives together. They're just chilling. They seem to be the most chill couple on this show, to be honest. And Jose is still trying to pursue this music thing, and they had Luis's son recording them for a music video for this interesting, you know, song that I guess Jose had recorded recently. Now, outside of the music though, they do decide to have a small wedding to invite Luis's friends and family, since the first time they got married was back in Colombia with Jose's friends and family. So it served as both a wedding and a little bit of a vow renewal, I think. But that's pretty much it for them. Let's move on to the last couple, who I think is the most toxic, John and Sprite. So I had to honestly save them for the last because they are honestly a mess. But I think you guys at home watching this show probably already know that. So after Sprite leaves the UK and goes back home to Thailand, they go back to the same communication slump that they were in before, where John would ask all the questions and be the only one that seemed interested in trying to have a conversation, and Sprite would just kind of be sitting there looking super disinterested. And finally John would have enough and he would just snap, and I was like, oh, this is about to get interesting. So he'd ask Sprite, you know, why he never asked him any questions about his day and what's going on in his life. And I was just sitting there like, finally, John, finally. I just don't understand why we didn't snap before. Like, what was going on there? So regardless, he just goes off on Sprite, and Sprite just sees this as John being really dramatic and over the top, and that he's always trying to start fights in their relationship. But a few weeks later, Sprite would go back to the UK to see if they should end things once and for all. But things are seemingly going okay for the first, I guess, maybe couple of days. I'm not even entirely sure how long Sprite was even going to be over there. But anyways, regardless, for the first bit of him staying in the UK with John, everything seems to be going all right. So John takes this as a sign to propose. And it's just such delusional thinking to me, but John would propose to Sprite at his house, and Sprite would say yes. I shouldn't say of course he'd say yes, because Sprite was really all over the place. I really don't know what Sprite wants out of this relationship. I don't know what's happening. So he proposes to Sprite. Sprite says yes, and he actually likes the ring that John picked out, which I was even shocked about because we know Sprite is so picky, but he actually liked the ring, I think. So just a few days later, things would go sour again, which I was expecting. But they would end up in the kitchen fighting because John thinks that Sprite was barking orders at him about cooking him breakfast one morning. But then Sprite would offer to just do it himself. And John would then yank the pan back out of his hand. And then Sprite threw his engagement ring at him. And it was just a hot mess. But it's honestly what I was expecting, considering their toxic cycle that they call a relationship. I can't even say that enough. But not surprised that things are getting sour again, because that seems to be their relationship in a nutshell. It's like, we're good, sort of, but not entirely great. But then it's great again. And then it's like, because they're on a high, they think that the relationship is just in this amazing place and that they should continue seeing each other. And it's just like, I don't think so. I don't think so. That's going to be it for these last couple of episodes. I'm going to do a video about the tell-all shortly, so do stay tuned for that. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.